Dear fellow graduates, my name is Tim Berger. Most of you know me if you don't know me, but you have heard about the guy who accidentally um, blew, nearly blew up the entire building, and the guy who did a comprehensive research on a mozzarella cheese quality. That's all me. I'd like to congratulate all of you on this day, the day of a graduation when we graduate from the University of California, um, and we set off into a great unknown. Actually, for me, it's not that much unknown because when I was coming to the graduation ceremony with my parents, sister, and brother, I was approached by the people who offered me a summer intern, and that is an very amazing opportunity to get an experience before I get my PhD and uh, PhD next fall. Getting PhD in a chemistry for me is the next step to become a real scientist. When I was asked the administration to to deliver a graduation speech, I was quite surprised because I've never been good at public, and in public speaking. I've never been a straight A student. Moreover, I missed a lot of the classes. I um, slacked off in some of the courses because there were so many things to do, a lot of parties where I had to be. So because I was slacked off, I fell behind, and I really struggled to catch up with my studies. And for some time, I had to stop partying, and I had to take some private classes. Only then I could manage to keep up with my coursework, with my study. Well, last year I was on the edge of being expelled. I made a tiny mistake in my calculation in the lab experiment, and my lab experiment didn't go pretty well, so it was almost an explosion, and this explosion made a huge hole in the wall. And I was criticized in a newspaper for putting other students' lives in danger. And as I lived with my parents, for sure I was grounded for like 4 or 5 years. Well, for some time I lost interest for chemical experiments, but it didn't happen for a long time. Well, in fact, I've never been a learner, much of a learner. I always was a practical guy. So for me, I want to see how the stuff works, how things work, to interact with the elements and see how they work with each other. And actually, I I the last experiment almost um, got me kicked out of the university for starting fire in the lab. And I've never heard that our professor yelled so fiercely at some other students. But thank you, Professor Gugudor, for letting me in your lab, because your classes were one of my favorites. Well, taking exams and tests were not particularly um, enjoyable process, but it was pretty much easy for me, uh, because I I didn't fail any of them. I could pass all of my exams, though I didn't take that though it didn't take me that much time to get prepared, because I remember my classmates, they buried themselves in the books, while I worked part-time job, and I also signed for a theater class, and I spent a great amount of hours on rehearsals. I remember one day we had a rehearsal with a group. We had to rehearse a play, and we did it till late at night. And the next morning, I had to go to take my exams. So I had only 2 hours to sleep. And when I came to my exam, everything just was mixed in my head, and on my professor's question about some elements, chemical elements. I started to um, I started to recite a Shakespeare sonnet, and luckily my professor was a theater enthusiast, so he wasn't that much strict with me. And I never failed a single exam. And when I asked my dean why I was chosen to give a speech today, he said that it was my spirit of discovery, spirit of determination and commitment, and that pretty much represents the university ideals. And also, he said that he had chosen actually a different guy, but this guy had a bad chance. No, this guy broke his leg, and bad luck. He broke his leg and couldn't come for the ceremony, so I had to do it. Well, to be honest, I feel very grateful for this opportunity. This university made me feel welcomed, because I felt here in a close community, and this feeling is very touchy. My life wasn't was very much different in my teenage years. My family moved from state to state. I had mm, uh, to change the schools, and I often was bullied because I was short and I was wearing glasses, and I also thought that I would be a weirdo with no friends in the university, uh, and because I was, socially awkward kid, and very, very much shy. And also, people thought that I was nerd only because I was good at science and mathematics. And sometimes I skipped school only because I wanted to stay at home and to read the books. And I even didn't go to my school prom because I didn't even have dates. Well, I finished school with honors and with no regrets. When I got a place at the university, I was very happy. My parents didn't have that much up, they couldn't afford to pay my tuition full, so I applied for a scholarship, for a grant. And uh, I applied for scholarship, and government fund gave me a grant because they were supporting some talented applicants. First, I was enrolled in the physics department, but then I realized that my real passion was chemistry. So I dropped out of physics and I dropped in on a chemistry course, chemistry class. And I think that was the best decision and choice that I've ever made. Well, now that I've defended my thesis and got my master's degree, I can say that these years will always have a special place in my heart. And I'm extremely proud of being here with you guys, uh, to be one of the today's graduates.